Hey there everyone, welcome to Violet's Dream Tarot. So today's reading is going to be very brief, only because I have recently struggled with uploading a video and it's kind of pushing me to the edge of burnout. I'm really frustrated by the whole experience. But I wanted to make sure that you guys got a Spring Equinox message. Basically what happened, for those of you who didn't see my YouTube post about this a couple of days ago, I filmed a Spring Equinox reading. It was a full-length reading as usual, and I've recently come out of a really bad dose of flu where, I'm still sort of struggling with the sort of after effects of the cough and fatigue, but it really wiped me out. I had to take a few days off because I just physically couldn't do anything work-wise, and so I struggled to film the video in the first place, but I persevered because I wanted to get that video out. And then after hours of filming and hours of uploading and editing, basically hours of my time and effort when I wasn't feeling very well, the video will not process on YouTube. So it's been uploaded many different times. I've tried it across multiple different files. I've saved it in different files. I've saved it under different resolutions to try and make it process. It's not working. I've reached out to YouTube for help and have received very minimal support. I'm really not happy with the help that I've been given, because it feels like the hours of my time and my effort have just been completely negated and really not appreciated at all. I have struggled with this because, for those of you who've been with me for a long time, you know that I have had this channel for over 2 years now, and I have always put in such an incredible effort to make sure that I upload regularly. I've never once missed an upload. I've never once deviated from the time frame that I set myself to upload. That's been difficult because this is not a full-time job for me. So I have other commitments, other responsibilities that I've had to shuffle around this, and that's because it means a lot to me to make sure that I'm here regularly and that I'm not flaky. I'm someone that you can depend upon and that you can always come back to this channel and feel like you're coming home. But this has been a real struggle for me, and so it has pushed me to that edge of burnout when I've already been dealing with poor health recently, which has made me feel vulnerable and kind of just low on energy anyway. So I really apologize for the fact that this is going to be a brief reading. I don't know if the Spring Equinox reading that I filmed is ever going to be made available, because, as I said, the support that I've received from YouTube has been pretty unsatisfactory and it's still not processing, and I've tried it in many different ways for more than 48 hours, so I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. So before we get into the piles, I just want to talk a little bit about what the Spring Equinox is, for those of you who don't know very much about it and just clicked on the video because you felt drawn to it, or because you wanted to hear from me, or because the pictures really drew you in on the cards. So the Spring Equinox is falling on, I believe, the 20th of March this year, and it is the time cosmically when the masculine is basically reborn into our world. So he's always present, he's always there, but his form kind of changes throughout the year on Earth. So in the Spring Equinox time, he becomes youthful, he becomes enlivened, there's more vigor, there's more power and strength there, and basically the masculine and feminine come together to birth some beautiful things, to bring fresh life into our lives, into our projects, into the world around us, obviously in the natural world, and also just in our circumstances more generally. So it's a time when the masculine starts to feel more tangible. And as I posted recently on Instagram, this also means that the masculine's wounds will be much more apparent for everyone to see, both on an individual level, our inner masculine, our experience of the divine masculine within the world, but also on a global collective level as well. And what we need to do at this time is sit with the masculine, allow that part of ourselves and of our community as human beings to heal, to grow, to evolve, without ignoring it and allowing those issues to fester, but also without kind of, the only word I can think of is pandering, where we absolve the masculine of any responsibility and we kind of go, it's going to be okay, you don't have to do any work. That's not the case. So I will be getting messages from the masculine and feminine today, because it's such an important part of what the Spring Equinox is all about, that balance of the polarities and the rebirth of the masculine with increased power, and what that brings up for us personally as individuals and as a collective. So that's what we're doing today. Any messages that come through will be obviously for you personally, but will also fit everyone else in your group. So I've chosen the same cards that came out on the piles for the original Spring Equinox video that I did, because I felt that they would still carry that same resonance for anyone who was watching this second video. So over on group 1, we have Goddess C Wang Mu and Stromatolite, number 53, Rare Success. You can just ask yourself what the Spring Equinox is bringing in for you, what you can expect or what messages you need to hear around this time, however you want to word it. On group 2, we have Angel Balthiel and Rose Quartz, number 16, Heart Healing. And on group 3, we have Goddess Ishtar and Astrophyllite, number 41, Daring Rebirth. Goddess Ishtar, also known as Inanna, is very, very connected to the Spring Equinox, so I was really pleased to see her come out in the original reading for the third pile marker, because in the Babylonian calendar, this was the time when Inanna and Dumuzid, the agricultural fertility god, renewed their cosmic marriage. So those are the 3 cards for the piles. Choose the one that you feel drawn towards with your intuition, and not the one that you just prefer or that you want to hear from that particular goddess or angel. Maybe just choose where you're drawn with your intuition, because that will give you the most accurate message, which obviously is what we're here to do at the end of the day. Thank you for your patience, you guys, because I am, as I said, really frustrated with the situation that has unfolded, and I am trying to take things a bit more slowly because I'm aware that I'm on the edge of burnout, obviously with world events having affected me as well. So thank you for your patience, thank you for your kindness, and yeah, let's get into the reading. Hi there, group 1, welcome to your reading. If you chose Goddess C Wang Mu and Stromatolite, Rare Success, number 53, this is going to be your reading. As I said in the introduction, it is going to be a very brief reading because I am trying to fend off the possibility of burnout taking hold of me after what's been a very frustrating kind of at least 10 days. So this is going to be less polished than my usual videos. It's going to be more raw, more I guess personal, like you're here with me. So let's take a look at the introduction to this card in the guidebook, because I always think it's really important that we do acknowledge these cards that have come through for us, whose resonance we've been drawn towards. So this card says, we bring you the empowerment of rare success. You are bringing something utterly unique, special, and precious to the world. Whilst there are creations that are worthwhile and valuable, which can manifest swiftly, there are others that are labours of love, requiring diligence, strength, and long-term commitment to bring them to life in the world. These exquisite creations are the divine manifestations of rare success, that which shall stand the test of time and offer a legacy of comfort, encouragement, and divine grace for generations to come. So that's your lovely message there, group 1. Let's get you some cards. As I mentioned in the introduction, we'll be getting a message from the masculine and feminine, because the Spring Equinox is a time when the masculine is rebirthed. He experiences greater strength in the world, and this means that his wounds, if there are any, are a lot more visible. Okay, so your message from the masculine today, group 1, is Geb, number 16, Grounding. Not sure if you can actually see the writing there because it's quite quite light, but it says number 16, Geb, Grounding. So Geb is the Egyptian earth god. He naturally carries with him this earthly energy. And I would say that Geb's wound, mainly apart from the obvious wounds in terms of sort of nature, pollution, etc., the disregard that we show in the modern world for earthly resources and the natural world and life itself. Geb's wounds are also that of being regularly separated from Nut, his wife, the night sky goddess. So your masculine may be carrying wounds that are kind of affected on a global scale, like carrying deep wounds from the way that we treat the natural world, and things like pollution. That could be something that really, really grates on you. But also this message of separation from a loved one as well. And then the divine feminine message for you is Mary Magdalene, unconditional love. She is not a goddess, she's an ascended master. This says, love yourself, others, and every situation, no matter what the outward appearances may be. Now, I do think that Mary Magdalene and Geb are quite a nice match for each other, because Mary Magdalene is very devoted, and she's very gentle, and she's very compassionate. And Mary Magdalene has been showing up so frequently for me in my own life, in personal readings, in collective readings that I've done over the past kind of week or so. And I do think she is strongly connected to the Spring Equinox, because the sort of masculine feminine polarities of Ascended Master Mary Magdalene and Ascended Master Jesus Christ work very well with the cosmic vibration of the Spring Equinox. You have Jwal Kul, another Ascended Master, Dharma unfolding. Remember that you are on a path. Take one step at a time to happiness. So I do think there's a message of needing to be gentle with yourself here. Like, you know, Geb is a god who is kind of taking up what's traditionally seen as a very feminine space. You know, when we think of the earth, we usually think of the earth mother, Gaia, Terra Mater. You know, the understanding of the earth is usually a very feminine one, but Geb is very unusual in the fact that he is an earth father. And he carries that message of the natural world needing to be treated with more gentleness. And then Mary Magdalene, obviously this extremely gentle energy coming through, and then this message here about taking one step at a time. And if we combine that with the rare success message, it feels like you are moving towards a goal. There is something really beautiful that you have to bring into life, to really create. But it's important that you don't give yourself a hard time about that when you find yourself stalling, when you find yourself struggling. It's really important that you are gentle with yourself. Higher heart activation, yes, perfect. Dropping shields, divine love, your heart is healed. This is something that I would expect to have seen maybe more in group 2, given that their pile marker was called heart healing. So maybe if you feel very drawn to group 2, if you were maybe struggling to pick between groups 1 and 2, you might want to watch that one as well. It might have a message for you. Don't force yourself to if it didn't seem to be pulling you in, but maybe there's going to be a bit of a resonance there. So higher heart activation basically means that you are dropping what I call the heart armor. When you are, you know, we've all experienced heart armor when we try and shut people out, when we try and harden our heart so that it's more difficult to hurt us or take advantage of us, because we really feel like we need to be stronger, be more powerful. The higher heart activation softens us. It brings us this beautiful pink energy that Mary Magdalene carries. It's pure, it's loving, it's so gentle. Like the love that a mother has for an innocent baby of hers, for example, that pure, all-encompassing, unconditional, joyful love that is given freely without expectation of anything being returned. Drifter, experiencing life as it comes, number 14. So yeah, definitely this message about being gentle. We got this with the Virgo full moon on the 18th. I'm filming this on the 18th, so I may end up posting it today. In which case, if you're watching it on the 18th, it's a big message. But basically, Virgo is a highly critical sign. It gives us an awful lot of criticism because it strives towards perfection at all times. And I feel like what your message is around the Spring Equinox is you are bringing something beautiful into life, something that is going to bring you a lot of success and a sense of fulfillment, and it is going to blossom in a magnificent way. So don't worry about that. It will come into reality. It will flourish in that sense. But this drifter message says, it's a slow journey, and I feel that what your spiritual team are saying here is, if you push yourself too far or try and get too much done in a very short space of time, you will regret it in the future, because you will have rushed things, feeling like you had very little time to make decisions. That will then lead to poorer results, poorer outcomes, and although you might feel as though you have no time at all to make those decisions, you've got all the time in the world to regret it afterwards. That message, what is it? Marry in haste, repent at leisure. It's that kind of feeling, like when you rush your decisions because you want to get it done sooner rather than later, because you know that you have so much to give and you're frustrated at being held back, or you want to prove that you can do it. You're only going to end up regretting it in the kind of long-term future. So your inner feminine is Mary Magdalene, and your inner masculine as Lord Geb are saying, one step at a time. Take it slowly and gently. And your advice message is last quarter moon in Virgo, so there's that Virgo energy. Attend to the details. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so I think that makes a lot of sense, because when you do rush things, you do miss out on the details. You feel like you're being forced into a snap decision. That means that you don't have all of the information to hand, you don't have all of the answers, and so it's important to make sure that you are focusing on those small things, because that's something that afterwards you will be really proud to have done, to have paid attention to detail, because you are someone who carries this strong sense of standards for yourself, standards for your work. As I said earlier, perfectionist. That can be a blessing and it can be a curse. It means that you can bring about some wonderful, wonderful things and achieve so much, but it also means that you can be so incredibly harsh on yourselves. And I really understand this message because it applies to me as well. But I really feel like you're being told at this time, gently does it, one step at a time, love yourself, and then spread that love outwardly, because you are undergoing this higher heart activation, which might feel a little bit strange at first. You might feel even like you want to fight against it. When we have these activations and these shifts in our energy, we sometimes kind of want to kick and fight and, say, I'm not choosing this. This feels like it's being thrust upon me, or it's not in alignment with my current energy, so I don't really know how to react to it. But if you just allow it to unfold, see where it takes you, have that open mindset, and that gentle accepting energy towards yourself, forgiving yourself and being kind to yourself, and accepting your vulnerabilities, your flaws, your past mistakes, etc. I feel like you will have a really incredible experience over this time of the spring equinox. Maybe not on the actual day, but in the days and weeks that unfold afterwards, there's going to be this greater sense of peace and being really focused on your ultimate goal, which will then come into beautiful fruition. Group 1. So that is the message that I'm seeing for you today. I really hope you've enjoyed it. And thank you for being with me here and for continuing to support me, even throughout my frustrations. I did want to end on a little mantra. I've been receiving very, very specific messages, despite the fact that I'm still very choked up and coughing a lot, and have kind of reduced breathing capacity at the moment. I've been receiving very specific messages from my spiritual team to sing more. I don't think that's anything that I've really done much on the channel before, but I've been called to do it. So in line with the spring equinox coming up, this new dawn, I thought we would just end on a little mantra for peace and opening up to new beginnings. So let's do that now. You can sing along if you want to, you can close your eyes, you can, just listen, whatever you want to do. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. Swaha. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. So I hope that helped you to connect with your heart a little bit more and feel a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more calm. I'm still choked up, so I do apologize if that came across in the mantra, but I really just wanted to share that because it was something I felt so pushed to do. So yeah, new beginnings, higher heart activation, gentleness. That's what you are to remember over the Spring Equinox Group 1. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourselves. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye. Hey there, Group 2. Welcome to your reading. If you chose Angel Balthiel and Rose Quartz Heart Healing number 16, this is going to be your brief reading. As I said in the introduction, I am battling the onset of burnout at the moment. It's been a very frustrating 10 days or so, and yeah, I wanted to get you some Spring Equinox messages, but I really didn't feel up to filming a full video again after the one that I filmed has just been pretty much wasted. So let's take a look at what this card means in the guidebook, because I think it's very important that we do that. So this card says, we bring you the gift of heart healing. Over many lifetimes, your beautiful heart has loved and lost and loved again. You have learned how to feel joy, pain, suffering, and bliss. Your wise heart knows that life is filled with darkness and light, and it chooses to love the divine and participate in life anyway. You might worry that your heart has been stretched beyond its limit, become closed or broken, yet your heart is filled with divine grace, power, and of course love. It can and will heal itself to love again, bigger, bolder, and braver than ever before. Do not doubt the healing power of your heart. There is power in your heart to heal through struggle into joy, and your heart has the gift of helping to heal others with love. Your open, kind heart helps soothe others, bringing comfort and reassurance to the world. Trust your heart and let it heal and guide you into the most beautiful and loving divine destiny waiting for you. So I think that's such a lovely, lovely message to open out your reading with. So let's get a message from the masculine and feminine to start out with. As I mentioned in the introduction, the Spring Equinox is a time when the masculine comes back into power and life, and it's a time when the masculine and feminine both work together to birth new life into the world and into us and our personal circumstances. But it's also a time when the masculine's wounds become very apparent and very obvious to everyone to see. So if there are any wounds that need to be healed, now's the time to focus on that. Okay, so your message from the masculine is Ullr, number 48, target. He is a Norse god of archery. And so he is connected to needing to have a very firm view on what you're trying to achieve and having the precision and power to then go and achieve it. So the wounds of Ullr here are over-focus, over-concentration, and then frustration when you don't hit the mark, when you repeatedly miss despite trying so hard to achieve something. So frustration's a big one, and like I said, over focus, where you become so focused on a project or a situation or a relationship that you lose all sense of perspective and you become completely mentally scrambled, and so hyper focused on that one thing that everything else around you loses all of its meaning and all of its precious nature in your life. So you might be so focused on one particular relationship, for example, that you neglect all of the others, that you don't realize what joy your work is bringing you, what blessings you have in having your health, for example, or having a lovely home to live in. These are just examples, but that's kind of where the focus of Ullr comes in wound-wise. And also, on a slightly different angle to the same thing, when you become so hyper-focused on one goal or one area of your life that you almost become cold, in a sense. We all know those kinds of people that, you know, are so focused on the friendship group that they have, that they don't want any more friends, and they're not willing to entertain the notion of spending time with anyone else, or people who are so focused on their career that they, end up being cruel to their loved ones because they put their career as the most important thing in their life. So these are the kinds of wounds that Ullr carries with him. And your message from the feminine is, Cordelia, go outside. You've been indoors too long, go outside and get some fresh air. So both of these are connected to the outdoors, because Ullr, obviously being an archer, that's connected to hunting, being in the outdoors. He does also have a connection to skiing as well, so there's a big element of being out in the fresh air, being out in nature. Cordelia is a great balance, though, I think, to Ullr, because if his wounds are to do with this hyper-focus and this loss of perspective, taking yourself outside of that situation and going and being in nature and going for walks and breathing and getting out of those same four walls and spending time with different people, it's going to make such a difference to your mindset and your perspective. So I think that's a lovely feminine message to come in, and I think she fits so nicely with the spring equinox as well, the blossoming flowers and the freshness, the purity. Oh wow, 2 Ascended Master cards. Oh, actually neither of them are Ascended Masters, but okay. Canonos, life force. Express your driving passion. Sensual and sexual powers are increased. So straight away, there's another connection to the natural world and being outdoors. Canonos as this god of the hunt in many ways, but also the natural world and kind of raw masculinity. And you have Archangel Michael trusting heaven. It's always a delight to see Archangel Michael in any kind of reading. You are safe. Angels stand close. Surrender your concerns and allow a miracle to occur. And I think surrender your concerns is a really important message there for you. If the wound of Ullr is to do with hyper-focus and to do with loss of perspective and worry and frustration, then you do need to hear that you're safe, and you do need to hear that you can trust, and you do need to remind yourself to replenish your life force, as Canonos and Cordelia are talking about, that natural primal energy that you have within you that's being depleted from sitting down all the time, being indoors all the time, focusing on the one thing, day in, day out. Expand your mind. Canonos is also a shapeshifter, so he completely transcends any kind of limitation of being and of existence. Wailing Tree, Reconciliations, number 59. Yeah, wow. I think a lot of this is to do with relationships for a lot of you, or the fact that relationships are being neglected because of your worries. And I can see that with the heart healing message as well, that you're carrying this heavy burden in your heart, and Archangel Michael is coming here to say, please allow me to take that burden for you. I don't want you to bear it any longer. I don't want you to be a slave to these concerns, to stop yourself living joyfully and freely. I'm literally hearing in my mind now that song Shackles by Mary Mary. I just want to praise you. That really seems to fit with your situation. Like, you just want to be joyful and to achieve your desires and to have this lovely life, but you're being held down by the frustration and the burden and the pain that you're carrying. So really around the spring equinox, you're being given this opportunity to hand over those concerns, to hand over that pain and that heavy burden to Archangel Michael and his team of angels, but also to the universe more generally, your spiritual team, whoever you most like to address when you pray or when you ask for help. This opportunity is there for you now. Yeah, so at this moment we've got the Inner Earth card, base chakra, strength and security, laying foundations. So it really is a time when you're gaining this deeper grip on reality, on the world around you. You're feeling more grounded around the spring equinox. There's this opportunity now for your root chakra and your earth star chakra to really become engaged and to bring you that sense of grounding and stability and calm that you need, because the heaviness of this burden has left you feeling completely like confused, restless, like just all the time, maybe even waking up in the night with worry or fear, or realizing throughout the day that you're breathing very shallowly because you're in that mindset of worry. The spring equinox gives you this chance to sort of, like, I'm literally seeing laying the burdens down at the roots of this tree and walking away and feeling that's it now. I can put that behind me. I can leave that in the past and I can move forward just so much more determined, so much more at peace. I think a lot of you have been praying for peace in the world probably, but also just in your own life and your own sense of self as well. Please give me peace is what I keep hearing. You're getting a lot of double cards today. Group 2. Oh wow, there's 3 here. Okay, so we're finishing up with 3 messages of advice for you, group 2. So full moon in Cancer, let your fears dissolve. I mean, that's a huge message, especially from Archangel Michael's side, was please don't let this burden you anymore. Full moon in Leo, go wild. There is the message of Cernunnos, and to some extent Cordelia as well, if we think of wild as being out in nature, but also wild in the sense of transcending boundaries and the obstacles that have seemed to have walled you in recently. And first quarter moon in Virgo, assess the situation, and that's Uller's energy coming in. And what I think is so interesting is that so far group 1 and group 2 have received a moon in Virgo card, and just preceding the spring equinox on the 18th of March we have the full moon in Virgo, so that energy is heavily infused with the spring equinox this year. So wow, to me that's just incredible. So group 2, that's your message today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with me throughout my frustration, and for your patience and your kindness towards me. I did want to end each of the piles today with a mantra. For some reason, despite the fact that I'm really choked up still from my illness that I've been struggling with, the flu, still coughing a lot, my spiritual team, for some reason, have been really pushing me to sing more, like in my daily life, and I just kept feeling pushed to do this on the channel. I don't think it's anything that I've ever done before on the channel, but I'm trusting spirit. For some reason, this is what I'm being asked to do. So maybe some of you need to hear this now. Maybe it will help you find some peace or some more heart connection today. So you can sing along if you want to. I'm just going to sing a little mantra just to close up the reading. You can close your eyes, hands on your heart, whatever you want to do. Hopefully it will just bring you back down to earth and maybe offer you a little bit of peace and heart connection now. So. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. So hopefully that's helped you to find a little bit of peace, a little moment of heart connection. Thank you again so much for being here, Group 2. Have a lovely rest of your day. I hope you've enjoyed this reading. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Hey there, Group 3. Welcome to your reading. If you chose number 41, Goddess Ishtar and Astrophyllite, Daring Rebirth, then this is going to be your brief reading because I am kind of battling the onset of burnout and I really don't have it within me to do a full-length reading at the moment after having pretty much lost the hours of effort that I put in to make that other reading that won't process. So Group 3, let's get your spring equinox messages. We're going to start out by reading the introduction in the guidebook for this card because I think that's really important given that you were drawn to this card. So this one says, we bring you the empowerment of daring rebirth. The bold spirit in you claims the divine defiance of the phoenix. It refuses defeat at every turn. No matter who or what may seek to overpower your spirit, your peace, your loving heart, and your wild optimism, you shall triumph in a divine and daring rebirth. Do not limit yourself with expectations, whether from another or your own mind. There is so much possible for you, a radically different and new you to become. Believe, and so shall it be. So that is a lovely, lovely message to have, and it fits so nicely with the message of what the Spring Equinox is all about, because it is a time of rebirth and a time when we tap into new energy, new life. As I explained in the introduction, we'll be getting a message from the masculine and feminine, because it's a time when the masculine steps forward into renewed vigor, into renewed energy, and also a time, as a result, when his wounds become a lot more visible. They become very obvious for everyone to see, both on an individual level, the inner masculine, if there's wounds there, or our experience of the divine masculine in the world, and also on a collective level, when we see it play out globally on a much grander scale. So group 3, that's what we're going to start out with. As I mentioned, Goddess Ishtar is also extremely connected to the Spring Equinox. So your message from the masculine today is number 33, Nuada Ergot Law, Magnanimity. Nuada of the golden hand, Ergot is, of the silver hand, Ergot is silver, and Law is hand in Gaelic. So magnanimity. This is interesting because Nuada, for those of you who don't know anything about his story, Nuada is, it was originally the god of the head of the gods, the Celtic gods, the Tuatha De Danann. He was their leader, he was their king, and after losing his arm in a battle and having it replaced with a silver arm, he was no longer physically perfect, and it was part of the Celtic law that you could only be a ruler if you were physically perfect. So because of his injuries and his disability, he had to step down, and he did this magnanimously. The whole point of the fact that his word is magnanimity in this deck is because he didn't put up a fight. He didn't say, you know what, I'm going to hold on to power at any cost because I'm so used to being in power and I don't want to hand it over to anyone else, or I think this rule's unfair. He acknowledged that those were the rules of the society, those were the rules of the game, and he stepped down without any sort of kicking or screaming. So the wounds of this card are sometimes very physical wounds, like physical imperfections, disabilities, sickness, injuries of any kind, scars sometimes that we have, that we carry. So that may be something that feels very potent, very raw for you right now. Also, the message of when we feel sort of pushed out of something, where we feel people are excluding us, or when that's happened in our past and that's coming to the forefront of our psyche now for us to deal with, when we feel as though people haven't respected our skills or our abilities or expertise or our personality, even purely because they've only seen what's on the surface and decided at once that it wasn't something they were interested in. So all of those kinds of wounds are brought forward now. And your message from the feminine is Vesta, home. Your household situation is improving, either through a move or a healthy change in the occupants. Vesta is also known as Hestia, and she is the Greco-Roman goddess of the hearth. She's very connected to ideas of devotion, especially where we sacrifice things. For example, the Vestal virgins had to remain celibate for, I think it was something like 30 years. And then after that, they were given a very high status in society, but the punishment was severe if they were to go against the vow that they'd made. So both of these deities carry the meaning of sacrifice within them. So that's probably going to be a theme for you at this time. Sacrificing your time to achieve something, sacrificing maybe instant gratification for a later or longer term sense of fulfillment. I think that they match quite nicely in terms of energy and personality. These two masculine feminine polarities, I think, balance each other out quite nicely. I think they would go very well together. You can also get messages about how Vesta affects you by checking out where Vesta is in your birth chart, because she is an asteroid. seeing what sign and house she's in, and also what aspects she forms with other asteroids and planets could be really interesting for you right now. Horus, Cosmic Gateway. Wow, your thoughts are magnetic and powerful. Miraculous changes are occurring. Okay, so that fits with the Daring Rebirth message, that there's this ability now for huge change. Horus is a very powerful, very potent deity. And he carries within him, doesn't he, the polarities of masculine and feminine, because obviously it's famed that he was brought into existence through a Herculean effort by Isis, his mother, and Osiris being brought back to life, his father. And his two eyes were said to represent the sun and the moon, and one shone brighter than the other. Horus, he had the sun eye that was shining brighter than the weaker moon eye. And so that in itself shows how he carries within him these energies of masculine and feminine. And literally, if we think about the spring equinox, it's like the time of Horus's birth. It's like him being, you know, conceived around the harvest time and then born in the springtime. So I think it's wonderful that he showed up here, because he's so connected to the energies of the equinox, and the fact that it does signify new life and new things being brought forward from the sacrifices that you've made. Results starting to show. I also love the Cosmic Gateway message, because that says that you currently have this kind of cosmic portal above your head, and so what you think about and what you talk about can really come into reality very easily. What you're carrying around with you gets sucked into that portal and brought into your life. So then you've got these two cards: Ancestral Realm, Karmic Release, Healing the Lineage, Boundaries. So that could be to do with your trauma being brought forward, wounds, etc. It could be to do with acceptance. There definitely seems to be a message here of breaking the chain of generational abuse or cross-generational mistakes and patterns. Then we have Anunnaki light codes, energetic shift, new information, end of a cycle. So this is a very powerful time for you, Group 3. You're getting a lot of spiritual energy coming through. Group 3 is usually my most spiritual reading, so this doesn't necessarily surprise me, but this is definitely like a big gateway moment. You've got powerful goddess Ishtar. You've got powerful Lord Horus, and you've got Lady Vesta, you've got Lord Nuada, both of whom are also very, very important within their own pantheon. They might not be the one that everyone remembers from the Greco-Roman or Celtic pantheon, but they are certainly very important and very highly respected within those pantheons. They're not kind of peripheral deities at all. They are very conventional, very important. And then the Anunnaki, who are themselves connected to Ishtar because they are of Babylonian, Sumerian origin. These powerful, I'm not even sure how to describe them, because they kind of defy our modern description of things. They're kind of angels, but they're not. They're deities, but they're not. They're kind of the in-between point between being an angel and a deity, I would say, in our understanding of what that is. It's powerful divine beings who are mediating between you and the higher spiritual realms now to bring this change into your life. Like you are the one who is being reborn, and we're seeing that again here because we've got Fortune's Wheel, number 23, luck and right timing. So this is really a time when things are going to start to change for you. Group 3, you're going to start noticing big changes in your life. Things are going to move more swiftly and more smoothly for you, but that also means you need to watch your words and watch what you're thinking about and what you're wishing for, because it can so easily come into reality now. Last quarter moon in Taurus, be proud of yourself. So that's your advice, is be proud of yourself. Group 3, your spiritual team want you to be proud of how far you've come, how much you've achieved. You are clearly here to perform some very powerful and very important work on this earth, and you're being given the means and the support to do that now. Your sacrifices are being recognized. You are going to be given the opportunity to really bring this new beginning into reality for yourself. And I also like the message of home. I didn't really touch on that very much, but you know, you could be moving home, or you could be building basically a new reality, a new life for yourself, so you start to feel more at home. So that's what I'm seeing in your reading, group 3. I hope you've enjoyed it. I did feel drawn as well to close this reading with a mantra, so that's what I'm going to do now. It's really weird because I've been really choked up. I'm still coughing a lot because of the illness that I'm still pulling through from, and yet my spiritual team have repeatedly given me this extremely specific message of you need to sing more. So I've been singing a lot in just my personal life, just by myself, but I keep feeling pushed to do that now on the channel, which I don't think is something I've ever done before. So with the spring equinox in mind, and this message of opening up to new beginnings, a new dawn, allowing this to come into our lives in a way that is gentle and accepted and very much welcomed, I wanted to close with a mantra. So you can sing along if you want to, or you can just close your eyes, put your hands on your heart maybe, or in your lap, just whatever feels right for you. And I just hope that this will allow you to find a little bit of peace, a little moment of reflection, of heart connection at this time. I will still be a little bit choked up, so that will probably come through, but like I said, I'm not going to argue with spirit. I felt so pushed to do this that it's impossible to ignore anymore. So Om Maritse Mum Swaha. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. Om Maritse Mum Swaha. So I hope that's given you a little sense of peace, or helped you to just connect to your heart for a few moments. I think that's important when we're going through changes and transitions, is to stay grounded and heart-centered, so that we don't feel restless or discombobulated or pushed from pillar to post, but that we have that sense of connection and continuity. Thank you so much for being here, group 3. Thank you for having patience with me and for your kindness and continuing to support me. Have a lovely rest of your day. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.